Hi, Jim. How you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous, Mike. Just fabulous. Good to see you again,
It's
and
good to
good
see
to be
you.
back in your studio again. This is virtually or whatever, but yeah.
I I just can't seem to leave it, you know. I just love to come back to this spot.
Every time, you keep pulling me back.
Oh, how I wish. So you've got a brand new album that has just come out, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But I want to start first of all and just chat about your musical journey, if we can call it that. It's spanning more than 40 years at this point. Uh,
Yeah.
that's a long time. Let's go back to the
You think
early
I'd get
days.
better after all these years?
We always hope, don't we? When you go back to your early days, when you started your interest in music, about what age was that, and what on earth got you interested in making music?
The first band I had, I was 10 years old. It was called The You and Me, two guys, and we wrote songs together. And I loved music. I would I would watch Elvis movies. I would imitate people. I wanted so desperately to have that type of expression. And it was kidding. I'm kidding. But I was 12 or 13. I wrote my first song that actually won a contest for somebody else. Actually, kind of interesting. But I started to write songs, and then by then we were into the 60s, and we had the singer songwriter, and I had a James Taylor, all of these people, and I fell in love with that, and I wanted to write music more than anything else. And I had a guitar. It was like a bow and arrow, like the strings were this far off the neck, and I would just work and work and work at that, and that was the start. And I then went through the mandatory high school theater, musicals and all that sort of stuff, and I kept writing, and then I was most people know I was a performer in my earlier 20s. By 18, I was already performing on radio and TV, and I was starting to do clubs and things like that, and starting to have a musical career. And most of it was comedy at first. That was the funny thing.
Isn't that fascinating? And so you went into your 20s with this, we'll call it developing career.
Yep.
Um, did you think you were going to make it your life's work?
I thought so, but I never thought I had the performing capability as a musician in there. And that got turned around later. But I knew I could be a songwriter. And I knew I was a songwriter. And I wrote musicals. I wrote all kinds of stuff. My first Juno nomination was for writing for another band. And then we got a gold album. I was writing for another band, and I was writing songs, and then I wrote one I did a musical with CBC Radio. Like I got a lot of songwriting stuff in there, and that's how I thought of myself as a songwriter who's an okay, banging out guitar player. I played, and we did clubs and stuff like that. Opened for Jim Carrey in those days, and doing mostly comedy songs because I thought that was, I could write comedy songs quickly and all that sort of stuff. But I did a lot of music. It wasn't until I moved up to the Haliburton County I'd been sort of doing it, and I got off in my business career, and other things happen. You have kids, you mortgage, and you start, before you know it, you just get a regular job, and you're just a regular guy doing a regular job. And then Linda put me into a songwriting course, and that was up here at the college. And I just I'd written songs all through these years, and I just started to pull them out. And that was how I got back into this. And the second time, it wasn't a career; it was for fun
Yeah, yeah.
and for love and for art. And I think people don't talk about art very much. It's almost like we don't want to talk about it. I'm an artist. That's what I do. You do visual art. I know you understand what I'm talking about. I don't have to be famous. I don't have to be anybody, but I have to create. And that was the gift she gave me.
It's a beautiful way to put it, Jim. And I think when we look around at all the amazing performers in the Highlands, there are so many unique individuals who are, in their own right, creating this body of art. And it's inspiring for those of us watching them. And we revel in your successes and your enjoyment.
Well, it's part of the audience up here, and that's a unique thing in in the Highlands that you'll see, and you'll see in other little pockets around the country. I know but it's one of those things where 30 people will come to watch an open mic, an open stage. They'll put up with the stuff where you stumble and all that sort of stuff, and they'll just be hoping for your success.
Absolutely.
But by the way, I've always felt that way. I used to be so nervous, and I still am. I still have incredible stage fright. But when I sit in an audience, I'm hoping for the success of the performer. And I think if we've got through all the other tricks, of saying, "Oh, imagine with their clothes off." No, don't. Don't, or whatever. But imagine that they came out hoping to have a great night.
Yeah, yeah. I think the magic moment is that first round of applause,
Yeah. Um,
and
in thea-
everything settles down.
yep. In theater, it's the first laugh, and in songwriting, it's that first. And it can be, and if you got a really good song, I remember when I wrote Carolyn and I played it the first time, and I had no idea whether it was going to work, and there was this space between the applause and the song stopping, and it was just the people who were absorbing the story, and then they clapped,
Yeah.
and it was, mind you, that space seemed to be like an hour, and then I found out it was good.
It can be unnerving. In your liners on your musical pages and on your website, there's one piece in there that you put in, and you don't go into a lot of detail, but it really caught my attention about hopping a train and going out to Vancouver. Were you escaping the law? Like, what was going on
I
there?
ran away. And I don't talk about an old poor me. My mother was a hopeless alcoholic. My family had dissolved, and I was on my own. And I was on my own at 13. And I was at what would have been called a street kid then. But through a series of luck and just everything, my life turned out well.
And what did that journey out west do for you?
It opened my eyes. It was a world out there, and I was pretending to be older. I had to pretend to be 16, and all that sort of stuff. And I was traveling, but it opened my eyes. I saw the country. This is why I fell in love with Stan Rogers music. I saw the country. I saw the mountains. I saw the prairies, and was hitchhiking through it. I talked to people in various places. It made me fall in love with this country, and even then, and I remember I go the first leg of my big trip. I ended up in Banff in a camp playing around with a whole pile of other people, and we were writing songs in front of a campfire. And yeah,
How
it
cool.
was a wonderful place to be. It was a wonderful time to be around. In the 60s, you could get away with that.
There are so many great Canadian artists who tell amazing stories. And I think that's, if there's any underlying uh, greatness about Canadian music, is that they are great storytellers, and the music is rewarding, but the stories in behind the music, they just either captivate you or uplift you or emotionally move you in some way. And I'm so delighted to hear that your music is doing that for you.
It is, and it's been so special. I mean, and you think about it, because I'm not famous or anything, but I got to know Willie P. Bennett. I got to know not Stan but Garnet a little bit in there. You get to know people because you go to see them, and it's a much more open community, and you walk up and you say hi and all that sort of stuff. And so you get to know Ian Tamlin, got to know other people in there, and the songs were there, and I felt myself be part of a community. And there's a number of communities in music. There's the storytellers, and the Willie P. Bennett's, and that's what I called the album Last Man Standing. It's there. That's that tradition of telling stories. Ron Hines, just like
Yeah,
just they people just capture you
yeah, yeah.
in that. And yeah, so it's a wonderful thing, and it's not just Canadian. There's Harry Chapin. There are others who Guy Clark and people like that who have these amazing stories of in songs, and that's what I'm inspired by. I mean, I write sometimes just some plain rock and roll, whatever type of music, but I love the storytelling.
Sometimes you got to have a little fun like that.
Oh yeah, we played one last night with the band rehearsal. It's Johnny's Old Lincoln, and it's just straight '50s rock and roll. That's all it is, and we just rocked, you
I
know.
love it. I love it. Now you have this brand new album, Last Man Standing, and let's talk about the production. Where was the album produced?
Well, it was produced outside of Wakefield, Quebec, and it was Ray Montford is the producer, and Ray, you've probably seen him play around. He played fantastic guitar player, but also a producer. He produced the first album, produced and engineered it, and he has a little place outside of Wakefield. We brought everybody in from there, and that was. So everybody came in, and we had guys just amazing musicians, in there. And I don't want to list them all because I'll forget some of their names, but there's so many people came in and played at this, like uh, Catherine Wheatley was on it.
Wow.
She did a duo with me in there. It was just absolutely fantastic.
And what was it like trying to, I won't say convince, entice these people to come and be a part of the project?
It wasn't a problem at all. It really was no problem at all getting people to come in. It was I would invite people, and and they would say sure. And part of it was the things installed in there, and that's the things installed in the industry. But that was still, there were people who were coming into it, and they're going, wow, you know. Yeah, it was an easy take, easy
Oh,
sell.
marvelous, marvelous. Your super talented wife, Linda, was a
Yep.
part of the journey with her accordion and assorted other instruments, I'm sure. Linda had a great time as well.
She had a fabulous time. She came in, and she was just a star, and she's with these great studio musicians who were part of this deal. And she did the accordion on her own. She did the cello, and it'll take your heart out. It is just so amazing.
That's
But
great.
but yeah, and she worked at it and played the stuff, and like we hear some of the tunes, Total Eclipse of the Moon. If the cello part of that doesn't rip your heart out, you don't have a heart. By the way, I do want to mention this guy too, and I got his Rick Fiennes, another guy. Phoned Rick Fiennes and said, Rick, can you come up and play on the album? Oh yeah, sure. It
That's
was just
amazing.
that sort of project.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Were you surprised?
Well, I guess when you've been around a long time, you have more friends than you think you do. Um, you know, but they were so kind and so supportive. Catherine phoned me, and they dove into it. That was the cool thing about this. Whether it was Gary from Blackie and the Road Kings playing the drums, or anybody, or Ray on the guitar, or backup singers, or anybody, the whole crew of them threw themselves into this and made it a total project. They were ultimate professionals, each and
Oh,
every one of
marvelous,
them.
marvelous. Now, when people buy the CD, and we know thousands will,
Yep.
will all these talented people be listed on the back of?
Yep, absolutely. The credits are, and we did it ensemble style. It's alphabetical. Everybody's
Excellent.
alphabetical order, and all of that. And we went through that thing of like, do we give people billing? No, no. And everybody has that sort of list, because we were an ensemble cast for this, and it was very much that.
How long did the production take?
About 3 months, but we were traveling back and forth to Quebec, and Ray did some great stuff. We laid down basic tracks, and then he brought in the rest of the band. People contributed stuff, and we talked to people with songs. So there was a whole pile of creativity in between, and then we'd go back and we'd redo it. And this is the other thing I wanted. The first album I did everything in 2 takes, off the floor. Got to be done. Got to get out of there, right? And this one, we said, we're going to do it the way they do it in Nashville. We're going to do a bedrock full of really good song, done well. Then we'll get some other musicians playing on there. Then we're going to come back and we're going to try it again. And then we went back for a third time. And I, you never want I think it's the best singing I've ever done in my life. I worked out every day. to do this. So it felt like a 3 month project of just making this work. You know,
Well, you sound pretty proud.
oh, this is my best work, and it is the best work over 40 years. There's one song in there that's over 40 years old, and it holds up to this day. And there are other ones that I've written in the past 2 years. So
Excellent.
it's a compendium of the best material I've done in my life.
Talk to us about the title song, "Last Man Standing."
Yeah, I heard this. This came. I stole this from Ian Tamlin. In a we Ian and I were sitting. I think we were having a glass of scotch, and he said, "You know, I feel like the last man standing." And if you're a songwriter, I don't care where you are. If you're in an elevator, if you're in a restaurant, you're listening for that line, and that was the line. And then, like I said, it was infused with, you know, the various songwriters I knew, and I knew how it felt, and I wrote that song almost in a straight line.
How lovely. Oh,
Yeah,
lovely. And a nice tribute to Ian as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody
yeah,
who is, I mean, and Ian is legitimately. He finally got some recognition with, with the Order of Canada thing that he got and all that sort of stuff. But these guys work every day. I mean, we think of them as stars and stuff. I guess we see their CDs and we're fans and all this stuff. They work so hard
yeah,
every day, and some of them like doing, night after night after night in small places. Sometimes people turn up, sometimes they don't,
yeah, yeah,
no
yeah,
matter how big you are. You have those nights where you're playing in a place where you ask yourself, how did I get here?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I played a lot of those myself.
I think many of your friends can relate to that. I'm sure there are many stories of that type. I want to talk about an event that is at this point coming up. It's kind of like full circle. You're going to
Yeah.
be opening for a very special Canadian talent.
I'm just enthralled, and this is so great. I'm such a fanboy, and this is Valdi, and opening for the Blue Rodeo Band with Carolyn and I up here, like, and they couldn't call themselves Blue Rodeo at the time, but it was Blue Rodeo in there, and that was thrill, and then Sean said, "Why don't you open for Valdi with your trio?" And I went, now this is so cool because when I told you I had a Juno nomination, that Juno nomination is more than 40 years ago. When I was starting out, I like I said, used this slide with you before. I started at the top, worked my way down. But I got a Juno nomination as a songwriter, and I'm at this event, and I know nobody, and I'm looking around, and there's this star here, and this star there, and this star there, and I'm sitting beside this guy, and I go, "You're Valdi," and I'm thinking, why is he going to talk to me? Well, he was so gracious, Mike. He was so interested, and what are you doing? What's your and he made me feel so welcome at that time. And now, more than 40 years later, with I think with some of my best work, I get to open for him. How cool is that?
That is marvelous, just
Yeah,
marvelous.
yeah,
It'll be like a reunion of sorts. He may
yeah.
not recognize you from 40 years ago.
I'm a little old. I don't recognize him either. But we're a little bit older. But yeah, no, I go by to see him every time he comes up. So he's heard my fanboy story all the time because I think he's fantastic.
The new album's available now for people.
Yep, yep.
They can order it.
They get it from Canoe. They can get it from music.jimlove.com. It's there. It's on all the streaming services, and I think I'm eminently Googleable if that's the case. But music.jimlove.com will send you a CD, but you can buy it through iTunes or any place at all.
And
Uh,
it's thrilling to know that um, radio stations besides Canoe FM are starting to pick up
yes.
the music.
Yeah, starting it, and big shout out to Aaron Radio and Roxanne turned me onto this service, which I think every songwriter should know about, and Canoe is promoted, and it's allowed me to reach out to all radio stations all around Canada, and people are picking it up, they're listening, and they're playing, and you're in really good company. I mean, some
Yeah,
of these smaller stations especially have incredible playlists and a big catalog to choose from. So when they choose you, that this is great, you know.
So having gone through this, Jim, and producing what you say was the best music you've ever done, and now you're promoting it, and you're going to be busy this summer with lots of music events coming up. Do you think you'll get the itch again to go for another album at some point?
Never say never. Never say never. It's like I bought another guitar too,
I
and
noticed.
yeah, but it's yeah. I have tons of songs. It's there's no shortage
Yeah,
of songs.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
we cut back to 13 for this album, and just because you have to stop.
Sure.
I'll never stop writing though, and that's the thing. I'll never stop writing songs, and you know, that's my 3 minute movie. You know,
Well, I think when um, Linda stops buying accordions and you stop buying new guitars, and we see some of these other strange instruments not coming into your house, we'll know that you've completed your work.
that's never going to happen. You used to stop with the accordion. Yeah, there's always another accordion. It's like what I talked to, but just full circle about I ended up the reason why I ended up going to university. I was marvelously adopted by a priest and a nun who took me in and all that sort of stuff, and had a lot of kids that they took in and brought there. And my foster mother, my mother, said to me, just put a little more water in the soup. And that's how Linda treats it. Just put a little more accordion in the house.
Well, it's working well. It really is. And it's obvious that both of you get such joy out of what you're doing. And of course, with your partner in crime, Ken Loney,
Oh yeah.
and you've become a fixture, the fabric of the Highlands. And how nice is that?
Oh yeah. And Ken, Ken has been an inspiration. He's the nicest man in the world.
Isn't he?
Who sits there and plays guitar with you. And he looked at me one time and he said, "Relax, we're gonna have fun."
I can just see him doing it.
That's
Well,
Ken.
Jim, this has been a delight. Thanks very much for spending some time with us. Congratulations on what is an inspiring result, Last Man Standing. And we hope it's a wonderful summer and that stations across the country join in the joy.
Me too. Otherwise, I got a lot of coasters around the house.
Thanks for doing this, Jim.
Thanks. Great to see you. Really mean that.